We've all been in situations where we felt instantly drawn to someone. But as we got to know them better, we began to notice a strange pattern. They'd constantly need your approval, seek your validation, and manipulate your emotions to get what they want. Behind this seemingly charming and confident facade lies a sinister dance of attraction, an unconscious attempt to compensate for deep-seated insecurities and vulnerabilities. You might recall a friend or family member who always seemed to push your buttons, make you feel seen and heard. But in reality, they were merely fishing for compliments to boost their own ego. In this video, we'll dive into the dark psychology behind this phenomenon, exploring the hidden emotions and behaviors that people rarely speak about out loud, and revealing the subtle yet insidious tactics they use to lure us in and keep us under their spell. When people wear masks of confidence, they are not fooling you, they are fooling themselves into thinking they are worthy of love and acceptance. Behind the charming smiles and the charisma, insecurity is festering like a wound that's been left untreated, constantly craving validation from others to fill the void within. Their charm is a desperate attempt to lure in anyone who will offer them a fleeting sense of security, a temporary reprieve from the crushing weight of their own self-doubt. By masquerading as the perfect partner, they are unconsciously trying to prove to themselves that they are worthy, that they are enough, that their ego-driven need for control won't be exposed. In their pursuit of validation, they often project their own fears onto others, labeling them insecure or needy when in reality they are simply mirroring the insecurities they themselves are too afraid to confront. Their charm is a coping mechanism, a thin veil that hides the desperation within, a cry for help that's drowned out by their own self-deception. They present themselves with an aura of confidence and mystery, but beneath the surface, they are desperately seeking validation to alleviate their own feelings of inadequacy and self-doubt. In their quest for connection, they often find themselves drawn to individuals who possess qualities they deem valuable or desirable, only to later project their insecurities as criticisms onto these very same people. The truth is, their behavior is not about you at all, but about the unconscious need to deflect attention from their own vulnerabilities and perceived shortcomings. They are masters of manipulation, using charm and charisma to lure you in, while secretly navigating their own ego's fragile balance, and employing strategies to maintain control over the narrative and your perception of them. Their fear of vulnerability often masquerades as a strength, as they become adept at hiding their true emotions behind a mask of cool detachment. But this facade is actually a thin-veiled attempt to avoid exposure to their own deep-seated fears and insecurities. Ultimately, it's not about the mask they present to the world, but about the void they are desperately trying to fill within themselves, a void that can only be temporarily soothed through the attachment and validation they seek from others. The most insidious form of manipulation is not overt control, but the subtle art of making you feel responsible for their happiness. When people hide their insecurity behind a mask of confidence, it's often because they are desperate for validation and will stop at nothing to get it from you. You see, the most toxic attraction is not the one that's passionate, but the one that's suffocating a need so deeply rooted in fear of being unwanted. Insecure individuals often use self-deception to convince you that you're the reason for their joy, when in reality, you're just a reflection of their own ego's needs. They'll tell you that they need you, but what they really mean is they need the rush of validation that comes with attachment, a desperate attempt to fill the void within. The more they deceive themselves, the more they'll deceive you, and the deeper you'll be trapped in a dance of codependency that will suffocate the very essence of your humanity. Insecurities often masquerade as confidence, hiding behind a veil of charm and charisma that's merely a desperate attempt to deflect attention from the void within. You see, people who are most adept at luring others in are those who are consumed by an insatiable hunger for validation. They are forever chasing the next fix, the next like, the next affirmation that will temporarily satiate their deep-seated need for self-worth. The truth is, when someone's primary intention is to gain control over you, it's not attraction. It's a twisted form of self-validation, a way for them to momentarily feel significant by manipulating the very thing they are most insecure about, their own insignificance. We're naturally drawn to those who reflect the parts of ourselves we're too afraid to confront, and this is particularly true when it comes to our own insecurities. It's a sick form of self-reflection, where we're so desperate to see ourselves in someone else that we become willing to overlook even the most glaring red flags. The dance of attraction is, in fact, a high-stakes game of self-deception, where both parties are so desperate to avoid the discomfort of their own insecurity that they'll happily settle for a toxic dance that leaves them both emotionally bankrupt. People often present themselves as polished and put together, but scratch beneath the surface and you'll usually find a tangled web of insecurities, desperate for validation to mask their own vulnerabilities. Behind the charming facade, a person's true nature is often driven by a deep-seated need for control, a desperate attempt to secure a sense of belonging in a world that constantly threatens to slip through their fingers. The language of flattery and charm is merely a thinly veiled attempt to extract information, to uncover vulnerabilities that can be leveraged for their own advantage, a calculated play to reel you in. When we're drawn to someone, our attraction often stems from the desire to heal their wounds, to be the one who's able to soothe their scars, and in doing so, we become complicit in their self-deception, reinforcing their false narrative about themselves. Their insecurities whisper sweet nothings in your ear. You're the one who can finally make me feel whole, complete, and loved, and you're drawn in, blinded by the promise of that validation, until reality hits and you're left picking up the pieces of a shattered illusion. The most insidious part of their manipulation is not even a manipulation in the classical sense, but a subtle, often imperceptible, emotional blackmail that plays on your desire to be loved, needed, and accepted, rendering you powerless in the face of their sinister dance of attraction. As we peel back the layers of human behavior, it's clear that our obsessions hold more power than we ever imagined. Take a moment to reflect on the people who've drawn you in with their charm. Have you ever noticed the subtle cues of insecurity that underpin their facade? Let's continue to unravel the mysteries of the human psyche, and I'll see you in the next video.